Hi, welcome to today's video. A little while ago I mentioned that I really want book tags to come back, and I've recently seen a lot of other people saying the same thing, so I'm basically just gonna roll with it and do book tags like it's 2014. Today we're doing actually I don't know what it's called, 20 question book tag? Ask a booktuber 20 I don't know what it's called. I'll put the title on the screen if I can find it. If you hear any movement, my cat is sitting with us. She is lazing in the sun. If the lighting gets weird while I move, it's because of the sun. I'm gonna be reading the questions off my phone because my laptop is dying a quick death and the fans are going full force all the time, so yeah. The first question is, how many books are too many in a series? And I have kind of mixed feelings on this. I think overall 6 is the max amount. I don't think a series needs more than 6 books. Unless it's a big spanning world where you have like series within a series. I'm thinking things like the Shadowhunter Chronicles or the Grishaverse, bigger series where you're kind of telling different stories through different series. But individual series never need more than 6 books. It is not that serious. Joke didn't work. I personally prefer duologies over trilogies and think 4 books is a good amount for most series. I think 6 is stretching it. I think 4 is a good amount, 3 is alright, 2 is best. I think 5 is a weird place to be though. I don't know why. I think 4 is alright, I think 6 is okay, but 5 feels a bit weird. But at the end of the day, I do not think most series need more than 3 books. I think a lot of series that go beyond that are typically like pushing it and tend to have a lot of filler. But at the end of the day, it is like series by series. Some are really good, some fill the space really well. But yeah. The next question is, how do you feel about cliffhangers? I love them and I hate them. I think if they're done right, they can be really incredible. One that comes to mind is If We Were Villains by ellaloux. The end of that is a cliffhanger. It left me wanting answers, but not necessarily needing a sequel. It was like the perfect amount of cliffhanger for me to kind of go off on my own and theorize without feeling like something was missing. And at the end of the day, I think that is what makes a good cliffhanger. Question number 3 is hardback or paperback, and I mean, you can kind of see my books. Paperback. In Australia, finding hardbacks is a lot harder and they are just like wildly expensive. I think paperbacks are easier to carry around, they're easier to just read, but like honestly, I do typically read digital books more than physical. I am a big audiobook fan and ebooks. I like that they are a little more accessible a lot of the time, but when it comes to physical books, I'm a paperback girl, but I do get really annoyed that paperbacks come in all different shapes and sizes, and it's just wildly frustrating to have different sizes of a series. For example, the one that is in arm's reach. This is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I have not read it. I read maybe 10 pages once. This is regular paperback size. Great, love it. This is not the same size. In Australia, when books first come out, because we don't really do hardbacks, you get these giant paperbacks. But then once they're out for a while, you get the normal size paperbacks, but also these are different sizes all the time. I have a series, I think it might be The Gentleman's Guide or maybe Kikarella, one of them, where every single book is a slightly different size by like a few millimeters, but it's enough to notice. But that's not actually what the question was asking. So, paperback or hardback? Paperback. But I'm a really big believer of like whatever format works for you is perfect. I'm a big believer that audiobooks do count as reading, and I think not thinking that is frankly just like super ableist, but we can move on. The next question is, what is your favorite book? And I struggle with this a lot. I've never been one to be able to pick a favorite of anything really, because then I feel bad for the other ones. But the first ones that came to mind were Red, White and Royal Blue, because I've read it so many times that I feel like it has to be my favorite. Six of Crows, which, oh boy, I'm currently rereading, and yeah, no, it definitely has to be way up there in my favorites. If We Were Villains by ellaloux, I mentioned that earlier, incredible book. But I find it really hard to pick favorites because I think part of it is like not trusting my own feelings about books because they tend to change, but I also don't really know if a favorite book is meant to just be like what you enjoyed the most or what you think is the best written or like the best crafted. Like what does best mean? What does favorite mean? I don't know, but these are books that I thoroughly enjoyed. The next question is, what is your least favorite book? Which is also super hard because I basically just like don't read things I'm not going to enjoy. I know a lot of people enjoy hate reading. That just doesn't work for me. It's not a good time. Years and years ago, I tried to read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. Maas? Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas? Is that? Okay. And I couldn't get through it. I was not enjoying it. I am not the biggest fan of that author. I have some feelings there, and like there are other authors where like I actively dislike their books, but I haven't read them. It's like I dislike them on principle, but yeah, let's not get into it because I feel like the stands will come for me. The next question is love triangles, yes or no? Yes when they're done right. Yes when they're actually triangles. I think love arrows are just like boring. A love arrow, if you've not heard that term, is like what people often think of as a love triangle, where there are like two people who are interested in the same person, so there is the arrow, but they're not interested in each other, so it's not like a triangle. I think love arrows are frankly just so boring and like, okay, like cool, great. I think love triangles, when done right, are wildly interesting. Two come to mind. They're both by the same author. One of them may technically not be a triangle, but I'm thinking about The Infernal Devices. To me, that is a triangle because there are two people who are interested in the same person and they do love each other, but it's maybe not necessarily a romantic love, but there is such a deep, profound love between them that I think it still counts. The other one is from The Dark Artifices. That is straight up a love triangle with the perfect ending to a love triangle. I want to see more like proper love triangles where they all kind of love each other and it's just confusing, and yeah. The next question is the most recent book you couldn't finish. And for me, that is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I love Cassandra Clare's books, but Swordcatcher is very big and it is kind of like high fantasy and I'm confused. I think I started it at the wrong time and I tried to push through and it just wasn't working. I may have technically DNF'd it for now, but I have every intention of coming back to it when I feel ready. But a book that I have completely DNF'd, I was trying to read a few months ago, and that was Pod by Lelaine Paul. I've heard such good things about it and I'm sure it's really good, but it was just getting very dark and I heard that it only got darker and I wasn't in the headspace for that, and I don't anticipate that I'm going to pick it back up. The next question is a book you're currently reading, and I find it really interesting because I used to be very much a one book at a time person, and now I just keep starting new books and not finishing anything. I wrote down my answers to these questions a few days ago and it's already changed. I've finished one and started a different one, but I am currently reading The Picture of Dorian Gray. I am a few chapters in. I haven't touched it for months, but I still consider myself reading it because I haven't like put it away or anything. I'm just taking my time. A Stroke of the Pen by Terry Pratchett. Again, been reading it for months. It's a collection of short stories. I am about halfway, I think. I was reading it back in like November. It is nearly the end of February. It's just one of those things where like I put it down and it's like I'll be back to it like any minute now, and then I'm just not. I am listening to the audiobook of City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, basically because I like to put audiobooks on to sleep and I thought, why not? But I did put that on pause because I'm currently rereading Six of Crows. I finished Six of Crows yesterday or the day before, and now I'm listening to Crooked Kingdom. I love that series so much. And when I was making this list, I was also listening to the audiobook of Red, White and Royal Blue because I was not feeling great. I was a little bit sad, very anxious, and needed a pick-me-up, and that's what Red, White and Royal Blue is for me. I think that's all the books I'm currently reading. Honestly, there could be more. I'm at the point where like I keep picking up new books and I can't even remember all of them, but that might be all of them. I'm not sure. The next question is the last book you recommended someone. And this was hard. I was thinking about it and then I remembered I went to a concert a few days ago, which is why my voice is still a bit funny. I spent a very long time, basically like the time getting there and the time before the show, kind of just talking about a certain book that I read many years ago that I am going to reread, I've decided. And that is the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare. I'm talking about her books so often today, but I am kind of back in my Kit and Ty brain rot phase. They're all I think about. Basically, if you're unfamiliar, there are these two characters in the Dark Artifices series that have this kind of hesitant friendship, and then maybe more, but not really. Oh, don't get me started. But basically, the last series in the Shadowhunter Chronicles has them as main characters. There is very little news on this series yet. There is not a release date. There is like not much. We just got the book titles. But on Valentine's Day, Cassandra Clare sent out a newsletter of like some art of these characters, and it's really just like brought it all back. So yeah, I've been talking to everybody in my life about the Dark Artifices, specifically Kit and Ty, and my anticipation for the Wicked Powers. So yeah, probably that. The next question is, what is the oldest book you've read by publication date? And it's got to be Medea by Euripides. It's from like 431 BCE. Pretty sure I haven't read anything older than that. I did not read that like for pleasure. I read that for school back in high school. I can't think of any other like ancient classics I would have read. I've read like the odd poem and things, like short works, but not like a book. The next question is similar. What is the newest book by publication date that you've read? And I was having a look. I think it's Love and Other Scores by Abra Pressler, which came out in November of 2023. I don't think I've read anything newer than that. I don't think. The next question is, who is your favorite author? And again, this is something that's very hard for me. Picking favorites is scary, but I've talked about Cassandra Clare a lot today. I really love Cassandra Clare. But all of the Cassandra Clare books I've read are from like the Shadowhunter Chronicles. So I feel like I'd need to finish Swordcatcher first to say that. I have loved every Casey McQuiston book. They just always hit. And because they're not all in one series, I feel kind of more secure in saying that they are my favorite author. I cannot wait for their new book. The next question is buying books or borrowing books. If you had asked me this like 6 months ago, it would have been a very easy buying books. I love buying books, I love collecting books. But lately I've been using my library so much, it's great. I was always like weirdly nervous about it. I don't go in person to the library. I haven't been to the physical library for a very long time. But most libraries have like a digital service, ebooks, audiobooks that you can rent out, and it has been wonderful. I've saved so much money. It's great. A lot of libraries also have like other rentable like services like sewing machines and baking kits. It's kind of insane and great. Support your local library. The next question I'm worried might be controversial, and that is a book that you dislike that everyone else seems to love. Now I know not everyone loves what I'm going to talk about, but I know a lot of people do, so I'm scared. Basically, Sarah J. Maas and Colleen Hoover. I am not a fan. I've never been a fan. I don't get the hype. I heard about Colleen Hoover in like 2016 with like November 9, and from that moment, like I heard about that book and I was like, do we consider this romance? This is what we're seeing as romantic. Cool. Why? I really just am uncomfortable with the kind of romanticization of abuse and the fact that so many people see it as romantic. It's just... I don't understand how there are like diehard fans. I don't understand how people aren't seeing the red flags. I'm just... okay. Moving swiftly on to the next question. Bookmarks or dog ears? Bookmarks, but I never actually use a bookmark. I typically end up just grabbing a tissue and throwing it between the pages, or like the receipt from when I bought the book. I used to be very anti-dog earring, but I've definitely like come around to that. I have gotten to the point where like, if you own a book, do what you want to it. If you want to mark it up, if you want to fold the pages, if you want to, I don't know, rip the pages out and make a paper crane out of them, do what you want. I typically don't dog ear my pages unless it's a secondhand book. I do have a large collection of secondhand books, and because they're already quite worn, I feel a little easier about just folding the corner of a page. The next question is funny to me, but it's a book you can always reread. Hi, if you're new here, I have read Red, White and Royal Blue over 70 times because I'm doing really well. Like I said, it's what I read when I'm not feeling great, and well, it's been a wild few years. That doesn't even start to explain it, does it? I've read that book more times than I should. Similarly, over the last year, it's actually been a year now since I read it for the first time, but Six of Crows has also become a comfort read, which is weird because when I'm reading it, I'm just feeling so much of every emotion, and a lot of it's not like great. Like, I'm feeling like turmoil, but I'm loving it. It's great. I'm reading Crooked Kingdom and I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, maybe I should just put it down and not finish it from here. Like, let's not continue the story. Let's just stay here where everything's good. But that's not gonna, okay. The next question is, can you read while hearing music? And I can sometimes, maybe. Basically, if it's instrumental, yes, I can always read with that. I really enjoy like classical music and jazz. I need to listen to more of it. I feel like I listen to the same stuff all the time. If it's music that I'm very familiar with lyrics, I can sometimes read at the same time. It kind of depends. Like, if it's something I can kind of tune out, I can, but I find myself getting a bit crossed sometimes. The next question is one point of view or multiple points of view, and I think it really comes down to kind of a book by book basis. I really love multiple points of view. I love getting to see like the same thing from different people. I think that it's a really interesting way to tell stories. I really love when something happens and you see it from one character's point of view and you see it from someone else's and it's like a completely different event. I love that moment when you have to consider that you're not getting a kind of 100% truthful or like pure interpretation of what's happening. You are seeing it through a character's eyes, and so seeing it through someone else's, it can look different. I'm really great at explaining things, can you tell? This is the last proper question, and it's, do you read in one sitting or over a few days? And it kind of depends. I really enjoy reading in as few sittings as possible, but that's just not really possible a lot of the time. I like to listen to audiobooks in as short a time as possible because when I'm hearing a story, I find that it kind of slips my mind easier. I'm self-employed and my job doesn't like take too much brain power. Like, I make candles, and so while I'm doing that, I can keep an audiobook on and pay attention to it, and it's fine. And so if it's a new to me story, I do try and listen to it in kind of as few listens as possible. I've recently listened to the audiobook of Bunny by Mona Awad, and I listened to that over a few weeks, but only in a few sittings. It was like while I was cooking dinner for a bit. I don't actually know how long it took me. Also, really weird book to read while you're making dinner. Weird vibes. But when possible, I like to read my books in a single sitting. When it's not possible, I do try and keep it to as few as possible. The last question is simply, who do you tag? And unfortunately, I don't really have any booktube friends. So if you're seeing this and want to answer the questions, do it. You can consider yourself tagged by me. If you don't make videos and still want to answer the questions, you can just do that in the comments. Do you disagree with any of my answers? I'd love to hear what you think. I'm sorry that this one's like maybe a little bit low energy. I am still recovering from going to the Eras tour. Yeah, this one's gonna take me like, I don't know, 5 business days to recover from. But yes, that's all from me today. I love book tags so much. Are there any book tags you think I should do? Let me know and I will probably definitely do them. But yes, you can give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. You can subscribe. I upload every week. I typically talk about books or sewing on here, and I will see you next time. Bye.